Hi, my name's Glenn. This is Karen, my wife, and this is our bus. Hi, this is Glenn Denman working on the bus again today, and of course, what else would I be doing on such a beautiful day but working on the bus? So the weather's nice outside, and I've been kind of waiting for a break in the weather so that I can work with things that require sealants and stuff like that. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to mount my brackets down to the roof. These are basically some 2-inch wide, or actually about 2 1/4 inch wide aluminum brackets. And I've drilled 3 holes in each one. I've got them all laid out. I'll be installing 6 of them for now. And basically they're going to go here. I've already got the holes marked, ready to drill. I've got one drilled just as a test hole to test out my method here, of course. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to mount these down with this 3M marine adhesive sealant 5200. It's considered a permanent thing, and it's white. And so basically what I've done here is I've drilled a hole, I've threaded the hole with this tap and die set here, and then I've got some stainless steel bolts that will screw into the holes like so. And I'm going to put the sealant on the bolts before I even put them in. Plus I'm going to seal the whole bracket down to the roof of the bus. So between 3 5/16 stainless steel bolts and the bracket, I should be in pretty good shape. So what I've done here is these MCI buses, they don't have a lot of rivets on the top. As you can see, there's only 4 at each seam except for the back and the very front, if you can see that. Anyway, so the rivets pretty much tell you where the steel is, but just to make sure to get into that steel flange, at this level here, there's 2 layers of aluminum plus the stainless, because that's how the roof overlaps. So you got the two aluminum sheets because of the overlapping, and then you have the steel flange down inside that's on the framework. What I did to be sure that I was locating that correctly, I took a magnet here and I was able to put it on here, and you can just find the center of the steel just by the way the magnet operates here and the way it works. And so I was able to find the center, drill that out. After I drilled it out, I was able to determine that I've got over 1/4 of an inch material here that I'm actually threading. So I'm hoping that by the time I thread this in, that I should have a pretty good thing here. So I'm going to set the camera down here and see if that'll pick up on that. Something like that should work. Anyway, so I've already got this hole here sealed. Plus I'm going to take some of this Brillo pad and make sure this is real clean before I fasten anything down, and including the bottom of my bracket. And so I'm thinking that sealant is going to literally glue this thing to the roof of the bus. So it's not just going to be glued, it's going to have 3 5/16 bolts as well. And so so basically I'll drill all these out and then tap them. So you can see I'm going through quite a bit of material there, which is good. I think just for now I'll go ahead and tap this. So I've got it ready here. Some people use those threaded riv nuts, things like that. I decided to just go with tapping the holes. I think I'll be in pretty good shape here. So it feels pretty good. So it should be She's fine there. Not tight enough there. Boy, that startled me there. Thought I was going to fall over backwards. That wouldn't have been good. Anyway, so I'll tap that out. Boy, that just feels really good. It's tapping that out really nice. Both the aluminum and the steel. Now, I'm going to make sure this is nice and clean. Grab a clean rag. So this 3M sealant that I'm using here, it's a marine adhesive. It's made for mounting stuff onto the hulls of boats for below water applications. So this stuff's good for salt water and fresh water and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm hoping this is going to work pretty good. This is some pretty gnarly stuff. From what I understand, my son works for a boat company. They use this stuff all the time. And he said it's not coming off. Every hole, and I want it to be under this whole thing. Should be pretty good. Holder somewhere. Man, now I can't really get it off. There we go. Two in, get those started. what I'll do is then I can bolt my brackets, my upright brackets, to this. And I've kind of redesigned what I'm doing here compared to my first video on this. Some things will be similar, but I'm going to use some different materials up here. I'm not going to reef that down. Well, maybe I should. I don't know. I was thinking I could not reef it down just yet, let it cure up, and then torque it after that. But then I'll be loosening it. I want the bolts to actually be glued in place. Boy, those feel like they're going in nice and tight. Boy, those are just really, really nice. Going in really good. Don't want to reef them down too much. Just get them to where they're not going to vibrate out, and that's the main thing. So things don't vibrate. Boy, I'll tell you, that stuff's sticky. I'm going to go ahead and put it over my bolt heads. Make sure it's in contact with everything. You know, a person really needs to take his finger and run it over this stuff after you put this on, so it really makes contact all the way around. I see a lot of times people will put silicone or caulking or whatever, and then they just kind of blob it on there. You can see the little holes and the gaps and stuff. You really need to, you don't necessarily have to use your fingers, but as long as you kind of, you know, blob it in there, make sure it's made good contact to the entire surface that you're trying to seal. Man, I'll tell you, this thing just doesn't feel like it's going to go anywhere. I would hate to even try to pull this back off. Well, I'm just going to leave it like that, with that hanging out all over the sides. I think that's going to be just fine. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move to the next one. I think that's going to work really well, if everybody can see that. It's got good contact all the way around. This thing's torqued down really nice. You could feel it just kind of spring down in place. You could feel the tightness of it as it's going down, and I think there's plenty of goop on it, so that should be in pretty good shape there. What I did when I first drilled the first hole, I took this piece of wire and I put it down inside the hole to feel the bottom, to get the idea of how thick the hole depth was. And it was a good solid 1/4 of an inch thickness in there. So I think those threads with that 5/16 bolt, I think there's plenty of threads there for it to grab onto, and that should be in pretty good shape. Again, I've already got the holes all marked. I did that the other day when it was freezing cold outside, so that way I could just have that all ready for when we had a nice day. And this is absolutely perfect. Last time when I drilled this thing, man, I thought I was going to fall over backwards off this ladder, so I'm going to try to be more careful this time. I'm going to grab my bracket just to make sure. Thinking I probably wasn't going to drill these all exactly right without having a bunch of templates and stuff. I just drilled them, marked the holes, then I just know which way it's going to go. I numbered each one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as I go around the bus. So I just want to double check that I've got the right ones here, so it looks pretty good. Now that I've done one, I can go ahead and just do all three, and now I feel confident in what's happening here. So well, I guess I could wait until I thread it. Thread each one, and then I'll double check the placement before I goop it all up. There's no oils or anything on there. Those should go on just fine. Just going to fill each hole. Hopefully that'll prevent any dielectric action. But stainless steel bolts shouldn't be a problem there. But I'll tell you what, this stuff is just sticky. Should be plenty. I used to build patio covers and window awnings, and I would always use, if I was going into like a brick wall or something like that, I'd put silicone in the holes before I would put the screws in, just to keep, you know, not that I'm gluing the screws to the building or anything like that, but it would just keep the screws from ever vibrating, that kind of thing. And those patio covers are still there today, and window awnings, especially window awnings, because you'd mount those to a brick building and they're just hanging out there and they're only attached to the brick. So you'd have to make sure that those things weren't going to vibrate loose in the wind. And this, I am 100% confident about. I want to do all 6 of these today, so that I don't have to worry about this stuff drying in the caulking gun here. Although I'll probably be putting more panels up on the front. Depends on how many I end up with. I want to put as many panels on this roof as I can get. Of course, this isn't the only thing holding these panels on. I'm also going to have a complete center support continuously all the way down the middle of the bus. So each side of each panel will have support and attachment. So that's got one less layer of aluminum there. As I was drilling, I could pick up that I was drilling through fiberglass. So aluminum, then fiberglass, then steel. So I won't quite have as much thread here of material threaded into here, but I think the steel and the aluminum should be enough anyway, plus the adhesive. This is something a guy would probably want to check this every now and then. I mean, like a annual check thing, just to make sure things aren't vibrating loose or coming loose on this kind of stuff, because this is kind of a big deal, putting these panels on the roof. You got to make sure it's all not going to go anywhere. That might be a checkpoint thing or a checklist thing you'd want to have for just every time you take it on a trip, especially if you only take it once a year. But either way, or even during trips, that kind of a thing. Matter of fact, with the access panel there in the roof that I'll still be able to use, I could always check that, you know, climb out there and look at this stuff, give it a once over before and after every trip or whatever. Some of that kind of stuff you just gotta do, make sure things aren't happening. I'll tell you what, that felt like I actually was threading more material than the other two that I did. It's pretty good. So I put it on this piece, I don't have to worry about that so much. That's quite a bit of adhesive there. Should completely spread out 100% over that surface. Should be about right there. Didn't really plan on doing this today, but the weather was so nice, I figured, well, it's a good time to glue this stuff down. Who knows, it could start raining tomorrow. Well, I just feel that thing just sucking down nice and tight. You don't have to reef on it until you pull those threads. You want to make sure you don't pull those threads out. I think it would take quite a bit to do that, as nicely as those threaded up. Those feel nice and tight. Leading edge all the way around where the adhesive is making good contact. No hidden surprises there. completely encapsulate that bolt in there. Spread the adhesive out so the water doesn't just puddle up against it. Oh, that one's really nice, really nice. Make sure there's no air pockets in there. Well, that looks pretty good. Anyway, so that's 3. I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 on the other side, get this thing done, and once I get ready to install the brackets, that might be a little while, so I'm just going to probably have this just be a one-off video of just attaching these brackets, because it's just too hard to, when this stuff gets spread out over time, it's too hard to figure out all these videos, and anyway, we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll figure out some way to just keep the video and save it until I get to the next level. I may not get to that for a little while, but I think this is going to be a pretty good way of mounting these brackets down to the roof of the bus. Should work pretty good for what I'm doing, and I'm pretty confident that it's not going to go anywhere. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Appreciate it.